Hey guys, this is my sister Tara.
And this is my sister Brittany. And welcome back to My Sister's Nightmare, a horror review channel for horror fans.
By horror fans.
Relax. I just want to look cute for the boys. You did remember to invite some cute boys to the party, I hope.
Of course I did. And we're gonna scare the shit out of them. Hey guys,
Happy Halloween!
Today we're reviewing Night of the Demons.
Released in 1988. I chose this movie for us today because it's set on Halloween night. Do you have any thoughts about the intro music and the opening title sequence?
I mean, the intro music was very, typical 80s music for a horror movie, I feel like. I thought the animation in the beginning, going into it, was really cool, and I like the different colors they used to make it feel like a Halloween movie.
It was fun. I think it really, like you just said, it really helped it feel like Halloween and kind of get you in the feeling of the holiday. So yeah, I really liked it too. The movie is directed by Kevin Tenney, who had previously made the movie Witchboard, which we will definitely be reviewing in the future.
Yep.
Fun little fact, his brother actually did the music for this movie. The movie stars Mimi Kincaid as Angela and Linnea Quigley as Suzanne. And they're the two girls in the movie that are throwing a Halloween party.
They're throwing a party at like an abandoned, haunted funeral parlor type place.
So they invite some friends over, and it kind of starts with them at a store. Linnea Quigley is distracting the young men that work in the store while Angela goes around and takes some goodies that they need for the party that night.
Literally fills the biggest sack I've ever seen in my life, full of just random crap.
And not very discreetly.
No, and then she just walks out of the store like holding it to her body.
And then
Very 80s.
A great line spoken by Suzanne. Do you boys like sour balls? Well, I bet you don't get many blowjobs then.
Again, just very 80s.
Very 80s, very this movie definitely falls in the pit of, a lot of gratuitous nudity. I think almost every female actress is topless at some point.
Just like very 80s cliche with nudity and tits and ass and, all that fun stuff.
So in the movie, the people gather at the funeral home.
I just want to rewind real quick. The very beginning of the movie shows an old man who teenagers keep scaring, and he drops a bag of groceries and says something along the line of this is why he poisons apples on Halloween to give out to kids. That comes into play later. Go on.
It does. So they're at the funeral home, they're just kind of dancing around, drinking and partying. And then the girls get a bright idea to throw a seance.
A mirror seance.
So in the movie, they all sit around. All the characters have to be looking in the mirror at the same time. And they're supposed to stare into it until it goes black. And then when the image reappears, it shows their past self.
Yeah, who they were in their past life, maybe?
And while everybody's head is turned, well, all but one girl's anyways, a demon face shows on the mirror before falling over and smashing into pieces. Anyways, the demon comes out kind of like just in like a,
Like an
you don't
invisible
see
way.
it.
Like they smell what stereotypically in possession movies demons smell like just rotting.
Yeah, like that's right. They pick up on the smell of
And
it
it's
first.
cold in there. It
And
becomes
it's cold.
chilly.
That's one thing I really liked about this movie is one aspect anyways is they do get into the demon lore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, the smell and you know that they were never human. The demons were never past humans or anything or never walked on the earth as humans. So I really appreciated all that stuff.
Yeah. So the demon comes out and possesses one of the girls, Suzanne.
Suzanne first. What'd you think of the way the people became possessed and then sort of passed it on?
By like kissing each other and stuff.
Yeah, because it goes to Suzanne first when she's like doing her makeup, of course. And then it's like they have to pass it on by like kissing, it seems.
It was interesting.
You know, there's not a whole lot of storyline here, guys. I mean, it's pretty much.
They're all teenagers passing demons to each other. Like, and when you kiss somebody to pass a demon, you're not taking the demon from yourself. You're just passing along like another demon to another person.
Like a sexually transmitted demon disease?
Yes, sexually transmitted demon. STD. Okay. Very weird.
One thing I find kind of interesting about this movie is it does kind of. There are a lot of horror tropes in the movie, but it breaks one of them by not only having a final girl, but also a final guy. I didn't know if you picked up on that or found that interesting.
Raj. 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 Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool too, actually.
If you had played a drinking game to this movie and drank every time they said Raj or Roger, you might need medical support.
You'd be beyond tanked. Kind of fun.
But going back a little bit, one thing that I liked about the movie, and I know you mentioned, is the demon makeup. I found it really good. I think they put a lot of time into the effects, especially, all being practical and no digital stuff.
Yeah, I actually it was one of the few things I enjoyed about the movie were the demon faces. They almost reminded me of a more like demonic version of the Vampires and the Lost Boys.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is another movie we will cover in the future. But it very much reminded me of that. I'm not sure when the Lost Boys came out. It might have been after, but yeah, it reminded me of the Lost Boys a little bit.
So now it's time to get to the nitty gritty. How did you feel about the acting?
80s horror.
It's very typical of its time. Pretty poor acting. Very little character development, practically none actually.
Really no character
Very
development.
surfacey. Yeah. Again, that 80s slasher
I mean,
horror
I imagine they had fun making it. But yeah, really no backstory into much characters or
like how did the girls acquire like access to this funeral parlor?
Right, like there's
Right, I mean, come on.
There's none of that. Like you have no back information at all. It's just kids partying.
I mean, going back to the cast, so I personally think it's kind of cool that Linnea Quigley pops up in this. She had previously been in Graduation Day.
We will be covering that.
Absolutely. She was in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
We will be covering that very soon.
Soon. So, that was kind of fun for me. She's one of those scream queens, albeit a B one, but still fun.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I want to circle back to, now that we're nearing the end of the review, is I mentioned the old man talking about poisoning apples and handing them out on Halloween. And he goes to eat breakfast the next morning, and his wife serves him a piece of pie and mentions somehow that it was a homemade pie. And he said, "When did you have time to make a homemade pie?" And she said, "Well, we didn't get many trick-or-treaters last night, so I've been up for a while making them using the leftover apples." Razor blades come tearing out of his throat. So yeah, that old guy in the beginning ties in at the end, even though it has nothing to do with the story. It was still kind of fun.
It was still kind of fun. I mean, like you just said, nothing to do with the story, but it's kind of a good beginning and then a cap at the end, to kind of tie it all in.
Yeah. If we want to get into kill counts, it was kind of hard to keep track, but I believe there's 6.
It's hard to keep track because do you count it as a kill count when they become a demon? Or...
Well, some of them were killed and then made into a demon. Like there was a girl who had her neck broke and she was dead.
But then at the end...
she was a demon. So if... and like one of them was impaled with something and he was dead and he was a demon at the end. So I think technically there was 6 kills, I think.
Okay.
We would have to Google to know for sure, I think, if there's even an answer on Google for this. But there was definitely some people killed that turned into demons, so maybe somewhere between 4 and 6 is my best guess.
And the third act for me in the movie, it's nothing too special. The movie just kind of ends because Halloween night's over, so all the demons are just, because again, it gets into the lore of, their free Halloween night.
Yeah.
So, and then it just kind of, the final girl and guy, just Judy and Roger walk off. So,
Judy and Raj. So, let's get into ratings.
Ratings. So, this surprised me. IMDb gave the movie a 6.1, which I thought was actually kind of on the higher side.
I'm not quite understanding that.
But then good old Rotten Tomatoes gives it 36%, which is more where I was expecting.
I would say still just a hair high. Because I've seen better movies rated lower. Just a hair high, though. I would say maybe 30%. What would you rate it out of 5 stars?
Out of 5 stars for me, because as you well know, I do love the 80s era of horror movies. And it's just filled with all that 80s goodness, as we discussed, all that 80s cheesiness. I'd say like a 2.5. I'd give it a good 2 point. I wouldn't call it a classic. It's a cult classic, but...
yeah.
How about yourself? What would you rate it?
As you know, I am not a fan of 80s horror. One of the things I love the most about horror is being scared. I get an adrenaline rush when I'm scared, and that's why I love horror so much. So 80s horror doesn't really do much for me. I know there's a lot of people out there that like 80s horror, and I can respect that. It's just not my bag, baby. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 0 is I liked the old man storyline, and I liked the demonic faces. Besides that, terrible 80s acting, lots of mullets, really no storyline, not scary. I just don't appreciate it. But I understand that some of you do like 80s horror. It's your bag, that's fine, just not mine.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another review.
And if you guys are dressing up this year, let us know in the comments what you're dressing up as. This year, me and my boyfriend are dressing up as Chucky and Tiffany.
Ooh,
Very excited about that.
one.
What are you dressing up as?
So this year, I've decided I'm going to be, wait for it, Miss Marilyn Monroe.
Awesome. You love her.
I do. I know it's kind of breaking away from the horror, but I do love Marilyn.
Hey, just last year, me and Joe were Sandy and Danny from Grease.
They killed it.
Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. Alright, guys. Well, if you liked this video, like it, hit that subscribe button, and until next time,
Sweet dreams.